Okay guys, today's a fairly quick one. It's 40 degrees outside. I'm in the shed just quickly doing this. What we're looking at today is I had a request from some guys at the Vintage Japanese Motorcycle Club here in Australia to have a look at doing something with the Dyna ignitions that they have a problem with on the KZ1000s and a whole pile of other bikes of them cooking their coils and failing their hall pickups. So having had a look at that, the biggest issue is that these are derived from an old point system, so they run the coils all the time when they're stationary, and then at idle they run quite a long dwell on the coils. It's like 55 milliseconds versus 5 seconds where it's actually off and firing, which causes power dissipation in the coils of up to sort of 65 watts for no great benefit. So what we're looking at today is I did a TAI setup, same as I do for a CB 750 or 900. Inverted the polarity of the detection so that it can work with the stock Dyna pickup. So it does dwell control, holds the dwell around 6 milliseconds, gives the advantage of delayed crank at startup, so it puts extra retard on to make it easier for starting, and does all the timing advance, so you get 4 selectable profiles. The only thing you have to do is lock the advance rotor in the bike, because now the advance is done electronically. Alright, so I've got the Dyna, if you can see here, sort of there's the plate. See if I can move this out of the way. Set up on the lathe, just as a method of rotating the hall the magnet. There's a spark plug here. This is the little KX box with 2 sets of LEDs on it, and there's a 4 ohm coil I'm running here just for testing purposes on that. We've got a power supply and the oscilloscope. So what we'll do is put the lathe on and we'll crank her up to about cranking speed, which is normally around 300 RPM. So if we have a look here, you can see on the top trace we have the trigger coming from the Dyna, which is a positive going pulse, and here we have the drive to the coil. So you can see at this point we're dwelling, and in fact we're firing about 4 milliseconds after the end of the pulse. So that's during cranking. We fire later, which means we're closer to top dead cylinder, which stops kickback. So what we'll do now is try and get my hand out of the camera. We'll wind the speed up a bit until you hit about 600 RPM. So I'll get to, it's about 600 there. And you can see at that we're firing on the end of the pulse, which is where we should be, which is full retard. You can just see up here both channels are triggering, but I'm only showing one over here. If I turn on the other one, you can see the other pulse briefly. Okay, so that's normal running. Obviously I can only go to about 1300 RPM on the lathe, so we'll wind her up. Now you'll start to see that the dwell keeps staying the same length. So the dwell is now advancing in front of the trigger pulse from the hall to ensure that the dwell doesn't get shorter. And that works all the way up to the rev limit at 9,500 RPM. Now you'll see we start to advance. So we're at 1300 RPM, which is about as fast as the lathe will allow me to go. But you can see we've started to advance into the timing pulse as we would, and by the time we get to about 2,500 RPM we'd be at the front edge at full advance. So really that's about it. I can show you, can you see, yep, spark, nice blue spark. We'll wind it back down to sort of cranking speed, and you'll see it's still a healthy blue spark, all the way down. Yeah, that's 80 RPM, you know. It's very sick if it's doing that. So that's about all for that. I just wanted to give you a quick show that we're gonna make available a module that works with the Dyna ignition plate. So that covers anything with the Dyna S, really, the old style points ignition plate. You can hook this up to it, run your coils. You get the advantage of dwell control, so you can start to run high performance coils if you want. You know, your coils don't cook themselves. You get programmable advanced curves, and you get the advantage of easier starting. Alright, that's pretty much it for me for this video.